Welcome to It Takes Two. I'm Blair.
I'm Chris.
And today we are taking a deeper dive into our thoughts about Madison and Allan.
Oh my goodness. Subscribe, like, share, comment, all the above. I'm already tired of these two, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was your thoughts on Madison and Allan this episode that just passed on them two?
It just made me think about arguments and relationships, how you react to arguments, and how that can kind of put you in a worse spot than you already are. It made me think about what overreactions do, and just kind of like that whole dynamic and getting through those type of tough situations in a relationship. So
I remember not this episode that just passed, but the episode before then when they was playing catch outside.
Yes.
You know, I think Allan said something, correct me if I'm wrong, to where he was mainly raised by women in his family, but when he got a chance to be with his father wouldn't talk really, wouldn't really express how he felt, but would do things with him, but there was no like conversation. And that's what I want to touch on, as well as the scene and things of that nature. It's very important as men to talk to your sons, right? I think there is a strength in silence. I don't want to negate that completely, but I think it's very important to talk to your sons and to guide them with your actual voice, right? And I can tell by how Allan is, if I was to take an educated guess, how he moves rather, is based on how he was raised. Allan is very passive aggressive. Allan is also someone who I would say don't stand on business. You get what I'm saying? He's willing to bend over backwards, you know. Even the word that he doesn't agree with, but it's a fact based on the characteristics that I see on the show, he's a pushover, right? And I want to talk about the scene where Dr. Pia gave them a game to play, and they're playing the game, and in the midst of Madison, even though I do believe she was faking, saying, hey, I do see that we could be sexually compatible with each other and things of that nature. Allan used that opportunity to not try to close the deal, or as Blair would describe, take charge. He kind of used it to go back in the past to bring up what he thought of that he didn't say in the past, but in a passive-aggressive way, insult Madison. Like, I'm just going to be honest, right? Even though I feel like Madison does not like Allan, even though I feel like Madison overreacted, what Allan did in that moment was not called for, right? You have a woman there, and you haven't got a kiss since your wedding day. Y'all haven't had no type of intimacy since your wedding day. The most y'all did was play games. This is a game couple right here. Y'all play Twister. Y'all play catch. Y'all do all these things, right? And in the moment where she's telling you that you're sexually compatible and you want these things, you use that moment to say, hey, you know, at the wedding, like, you know, how you was dancing, I guess she was like twerking or whatever. He really wasn't fond of that. And then, like, you kind of came off as someone who, like, you know, who likes transactional sex. I don't even know what that means, right? So it makes sense for Madison to be like, why are you calling me a hooker, basically, in the confessional? So far on what I said, do you have anything to add?
No, you're just kind of recounting.
Okay, I'm recapping. I feel like as a guy watching Allan, who is another man, Allan, what were you doing? I really don't even know what was the motive behind him even talking like that. And my problem with Allan is that, hey, Allan, you're not going to nice your way to her heart. Throughout this whole marriage, you have not set no boundaries for yourself. When she crossed boundaries or even done things that was disrespectful to the marriage itself, you have not brought it up. And if you brought it up, you brought it up in a passive aggressive way, not in a way that needs correcting. And I just feel like, even though there is sympathy for Allan, because we all allege that Madison could be messing with David, but I don't want to take the spotlight off of Allan of, oh, Allan, the way you've been moving in this marriage is like good. Like, I think you definitely need to learn to stand up for yourself, because no one's going to have pity for you, not even the one you're married to. You get what I'm saying? Do you have anything to add?
Yeah. How do I put it? I don't know if I would agree with all those characterizations of Allan.
Okay, help me.
I think that I think that he can be passive aggressive, but in the moment, I don't think that he was. I think that he was trying to just be honest and share his thoughts about his first impression of her and how during the game he actually got to learn her a little bit more, and he was surprised by some of the things that he learned. So I don't think in this situation he was trying to be that way.
Okay.
But I think that he misjudged what the actual purpose of this game was. I think that he appreciated getting to learn Madison, but I don't think he realized this was an opportunity for him to push the relationship forward. I think it was a missed opportunity on his part. He was in the seat of comfort of, oh, finally she's opened up, we're talking, we're actually having conversations about sex, and oh wow, like I didn't know that she, this type of stuff would, as far as like the passionate type of sex, is something that she would be into. And so I think he was really just having a conversation about the moment, but like I said, he missed the opportunity to push the relationship forward.
Yeah.
However, even with the missed opportunity and him putting his foot in his mouth, I think that he touched on a stereotype or a judgment that he had of Madison before he got to know her. And I think that in that moment, it became a point of conversation for him because he's actually getting to know her beyond kind of the nice facade or the representative that she likes to put out there.
That's fair.
So I think kind of like that's, if I could guess where his thought process was, I kind of think that's where it was. Now, my thing is that before you actually get to know somebody, a lot of the times you do have preconceived notions.
That's true.
And so I'm not faulting Allan on having preconceived notions on how she presented herself. Was it necessary for her to know that? Not necessarily, but I think he thought he was talking freely with a friend and not realizing that you're also in a relationship that is on rocky ground right now. So because of that, I kind of want to shift the focus to kind of a broader topic about stereotypes in marriage.
Okay.
And my thoughts about that are, when you get married, which makes the show so crazy, is because, like I've said in other episodes, when you marry somebody, they have a different level of access to you, and you open up yourself in a way that you don't do with anybody else in your life.
That's fair.
And it can definitely be hurtful if you're in a marriage and this person is supposed to see you for who you are, and someone is supposed to know you kind of like your ins and outs, and they look at you and say, you come across like a party girl, when the situation in fact is that, I'm committed to you, I'm in this marriage, I'm not a party girl, and all these different things, if that's who you truly are. I think that with Madison, she has shown herself to be what Allan has described. And until she shows a different side of her, that's really all he has to go off of, unless they have these deeper conversations. Allan has tried asking her questions about, what do you not like about me? Like, kind of like, can we get a little bit deeper into like this relationship and kind of what you're looking for and what I'm missing, versus I just need to go to the gym 6 days a week, 2 times a day. And by the fact that they're having that conversation, now he's getting to know who you really are versus what you put out there. And I would say that I can understand Madison's frustration with the fact of that there's more to me than what you see, but Madison, it kind of is your responsibility to open up and reveal that to him. Yeah. And it upset, I wouldn't say upset because it's a TV show. I wasn't upset, but it was unfair to Allan, her response to the conversation, because she said she knew there wasn't any malice in the conversation. He really didn't mean any harm. And she kept telling him it was okay, yet she leaves and stays out till past 3 a.m.
Yeah, that's foul.
So Madison, I felt like, should have had a real honest conversation with him about what those comments mean to her and how it hurts her feelings. But because she wants to keep this facade, they can't get any deeper. Yeah. And he can't see past what she presents because she doesn't expose herself in any other way. So,
ooh, that was a good analysis. here's my thing with Allan, and maybe I need to flush out why I call him passive aggressive, right?
And if I can just add,
go ahead.
He definitely is passive aggressive in different situations.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say that when he finally got to saying, okay, we need to have an honest conversation,
mm-hmm.
then it was clear that you weren't honest up to this point.
You wasn't honest at all.
And that makes for a very surface relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And I put it on kind of both of y'all's responsibility that you guys aren't having real conversations.
Thank you.
Thank you. And exposing what the real issues are, how y'all are viewing each other, and how y'all can get to know who each other really is. So
thank you, because that's exactly what I was going to touch on when it came to passive aggressiveness and surface level, the surface levelness of this relationship.
Yeah,
Allan contributed to that as equal as Madison.
He did.
The only thing about Madison that we can 100% agree, Madison don't like this guy. She told him that she don't like this guy, and Allan thought that he can nice his way or basically change who he is or change his routine and things of that nature to basically nice his way to her heart, and and that's not going to happen. While at the same time, while you're morphing into this guy that you don't even know who you're morphing into, like, you are putting no basically requirements on her to basically step up because you're keeping it at surface level as she is, right? And the reason why I say passive aggressive, because I'm using all the information that we have from not just this episode, but from the after parties and from other episodes, right? I do not believe that night where David allegedly sent that text to Madison, right, that's the first time he felt some way about Madison and David. He said it to Dr. Pepper. He said it on the after party, right? About, hey, why you hug David like that and not me, right? But I think he uses the opportunity in front of people, and I don't want to say to perform, but it gives him a little courage because he's in front of people, besides standing on your own square, being a man, and actually talking about what is an issue for you. Right? And my thing is, you just can't bring up your issue when it's at a boiling point to where now everything just goes spill out. Because now you had all these issues from night one, which you are rightfully to have. Night one, where she did not stay in that apartment after the honeymoon, right? And she didn't even come home that night, right? So you are right to feel what you feel. But the thing about it is you suppressed it, right? You was passive with it. And now when it comes to a boiling point, now you're over here saying, you're the most overly sensitive person I ever. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. Now we're talking about 10 issues because of this one issue, right? And that's what I mean when I say he's passive, and he contributed to the not stereotypical, the surface levelness of his relationship, because he wasn't honest, because he didn't have enough courage to stand on his own to say, I did not like that. Don't do that. I like Shakespeare. You get what I'm saying? Instead, what do you like, Madison? Oh, I trust you 100%, Madison. Oh, Madison, I think the world of you, Madison. It's like, how can you consistently think of someone this way, who consistently been telling you they don't like you, who consistently been turning you down? You haven't kissed them. You said out your mouth. Right? I remember episodes ago, he said out his mouth when they was looking at their wedding photos during the anniversary thing. He was like, "Ooh, we kiss on our wedding day. I wish we had more of those." That's a passive way of going about it, right? And my thing is, I think that's just in his personality. That I'm not saying that he's a bad person. I'm not saying that, right? Allan, I don't know if he's a good person or a bad person. It doesn't matter to me. But I just want to say that even though Madison, she's foul 100%, it's your job, Allan, to set the boundaries for what you will accept and not accept, right? And you haven't done that up to this point, right? What is your thoughts, unless you have something to...
well, I guess my question for you, like, I hear your thoughts on Allan, but what are your notes for Madison? Like, what...
Here's the thing about it, right? Madison, we knew from the jump that Madison did not like Allan. She told him, right? You're not, I'm usually into pretty boys. I'm not into you, right? Here's my thing about it. I have a saying, and I live by it. Suckers get licked, right? And my thing about it is Allan kept letting Madison lick him until he basically blew up, and now he's upset. And now the preview for the next episode, he's punching cabinets, right? And my thing is, Madison is terrible. She's not a good wife, right? She is not a good a partner in this. She's not fully committed to the process. And if she was talking to David or basically sexing David on the side and things of that nature, you're not even a hooker because a hooker do it for money. You're doing it for the love of the game, and that's terrible. You get what I'm saying? That's wild, right? To even play in like another man's face who joined the process as you did, and you're not even fully committed to that. And my thing is, maybe it just seemed that way because, or maybe it may seem like I'm harder on Allan than I am on Madison, because I am, because there's a certain respect and a certain standard that I want him to hold himself to as a man, right? To where he should not be blowing up in the gym talking about all his issues that he had from day one on day 60. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's like, why did you hold all that stuff in? And it goes back to what I was saying before. It's very important that when you parent a son, that a father must make his voice known, right? And maybe when he's with his father or how he grew up, he learned from his father, hey, we don't talk about our feelings because I never heard you talk about your feelings and things of that nature, right? So it's like, I can see it and I don't want to blame him for that. But at the same time, even though you may not be the cause of that, you're a grown man. You are responsible to fix those errors in your life that you did not make. And that's why it may seem like I have a lot of notes on Allan, because it's very easy to say, Madison, you're trash, right? But I want Allan to understand that, hey, even though she's trash, I want you to see how you contributed to your own uneasiness as well, right? Not only by her being the aggressor, which she is, but I'm just saying even though it's a sad place to be in, I want you to see, hey, if I just would have spoke up, if I would have did this, if I would have did this, I would have did that. I may not have changed how she treated me, but I would have been more at peace, and I wouldn't have blown up and been out of character in the gym in that scene.
Okay. I really don't have any other thoughts. Madison, I really think that she's with David. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if it's for a good time or a long time. It does make me wonder if 29 is too young to be part of the married at first sight process. But I think that there's all different types of 29-year-olds. And the interesting thing with Madison is that she talks about her hard upbringing, how she had a job since she was 14 and she worked all of her life. But where does like her like kind of like emotional intelligence, like where has that been developed? Because the fact that we've seen her talk to the experts and say how she really hasn't prioritized partners in the past, and then she comes on to Married at First Sight and she is down to the bar and not even with her husband, it just makes me wonder, where has that development been, and did you expect it to develop on its own once you got married? So that's kind of my pushback to Madison is, where is this personal growth in order for you to have a successful marriage? And maybe it wasn't going to be with Allan, which is totally fine. If he's just not it, he's just not it. I always like for people to be transparent, but I also get for the show that there are intricacies that as viewers that we aren't privy to of why they have to drag stuff out. So if that's, you know, the case, and Madison can't be fully transparent about where she stands with Allan, it would be great for them to have those conversations of where they're at and maybe how they could progress. But it seems like she's even like adverse to having those conversations, because when Allan brought up the fact of, do you even find me attractive? And she said, you know, I said, I like your shirt, or whatever she said, or you looked handsome that day. I mean, or when he's asking her questions and she's like, oh, like, that's kind of a weird question to ask. It's just like, you don't want to open up. And why is that? Like, what's that about? Is it the cameras? Because I can understand the cameras.
I don't think so.
But I'm just like, what is it that keeps you so closed off to where all he has to go off of is how you come across? So because
there's nothing to her, in my opinion. I think I don't want to negate anybody come up story and things like that. Like I said, I don't want to have a pour off, but working from the age 14 to what she's 29 is not uncommon for a lot of people. A lot of people who was able, and I mean, I'm talking about my people, right? A lot of people who was first able to work, willing to get a work permit and things of that nature, they've been working all their life too. Foot Locker, restaurants, waiters, and things like that. Like, that's not an uncommon come up. The thing that makes Madison so crazy to me is that, Okay, you talk about you've been working since you was 14. Okay, you had to prove or basically prove everybody wrong, basically the stereotypes about you and things of that nature, right? Also, you also talking about like it's not always about my looks, and I'm just like, who's talking about your looks outside of you? Like you're the only one that keep talking about how good you look and basically how people view you on your looks. I did not look at Madison and ever thought she got anywhere because of her looks, right? I'm like, she just a white girl, a white woman, right? So I think the reason why Allan said those things, because those are really the things that's like really is about her. Like she goes to the bar, she's a party girl. You get what I'm saying? Maybe not transactional sex woman, maybe not hooker and things of that nature, but you like to be on the scene. You like to be seen. Your friends, not only Allan said it, your friends said it during the wedding, right? When you got kicked out of a whole festival that is basically dedicated to drinking, and apparently you was so drunk or whatever that you had to be asked to leave because you're drunker than the drunk people that we got here. Mm-hmm. So obviously, it's not just something that Allan just pulled out of thin air. Even though I said all these things about Allan, right? One thing I did not say about Allan is he's a liar, right? Mm-hmm. He can be passive. He straight can be a pushover. All these things, but I did not say liar. I think Allan is saying what he sees, right? And what he sees is that you're talking out of both sides of your mouth. You are alluding to the problems you had with your mom when it comes to drinking. But yet, all of our settings of all our interactions is at a bar, right? So it's like it's an oxymoron to me. Mm-hmm. So I can see why Allan is like, see, I thought that you were this type of person because this is what you showed me. Mm-hmm. So I can understand to the point where Allan is frustrated because now he haven't got a kiss, he haven't got no intimacy. He's playing these games that he probably don't care for. And now he's on a 2-drink minimum. It's like all these things that
and he gotta go to the gym every day.
Exactly. It's like all these things. He's like, man, I wasn't even drunk that night. He's like, you're on a 2-drink minimum because he's trying to nice his way into her heart. And that's why I'm like, hey, that's where pushover come from, Allan. But I don't think Allan's lying. I think a hit dog will holler. I think she's hollering because guess what? Right after they got in a disagreement, emotional intelligence would say, hey, let's talk about this, right? Instead, she gets on the phone. You said Amanda, right? As in a man named David, as you would say. Oh, okay, thank you, Blair, right? But you leave after he said you a party girl and don't come back till 4 o'clock in the morning. And then when addressed by it the next day, you're like, at least I came home.
Or even when she was talking to Keisha, like she was like, it's not like I went to the club, I went to the bar. So it's just like, so is partying only when you're on the dance floor?
No.
Like I really don't understand Madison.
She's lying on purpose.
But she also doesn't, I feel like she doesn't open herself up to be understood. Yeah.
Well, I think she do that purposely because she's a liar, right? That's why she tried to do that little semantics with a side of lies with Keisha talking about, I'm not a party girl. I'm not dancing on the table and things like that. But you're out at 4 o'clock in the morning right after you got in an argument with your husband. And now he's making a diary cam, which I think he did it purposely and strategically saying, my wife's not here and I'm worried. I don't know where she is. If you're really worried, Allan, you would have called her and looked for her. But I know what you're doing. You're building your case. Build your case, brother, right? But if this was a one-time thing, I would be like, oh, it's a one-off. We went to the bar together and I lost you.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
But I do want to say that when it comes to Madison, I think that she got defensive about it as well because the way that she talked about her mom is that maybe her mom was this party person and who, drank a lot or, all assuming because she really didn't give us details. And maybe she does not want to be viewed the same way as her mother. And maybe that offended her to think that, am I showing those traits that I hate? And I think that she doesn't want to talk about it because she really doesn't even want to discuss her mom in detail like that anyway, which I can understand because it's her mom's business. But yeah, and I also think that when it comes to Madison not coming like home and being out late and all that type of stuff, like what do you think that you're portraying? I think that she gives herself all these excuses and outs, and I just don't quite understand how. I'll put it like this. If you want to be a party girl, that's fine. If you go to work and you hang out, you go to happy hour, after work every single day, that's your prerogative.
That's normal.
You're grown. That's your business, you know? But if you are trying to marry somebody, and especially if it's married at first sight and you guys have like a finite amount of time to get to know each other and you really need to kind of learn each other, I think that you're going to have to change some of your habits of being away from the home to get to know your partner. And I don't know why that's not clicking with her. I guess she gets it, but maybe she just don't want to be around Allan. Who knows?
She gets it. I'm not giving her no bail out of jail for that. Yeah. She gets it 100%. Everything she's doing is intentional. Everything she's doing is intentional. So I'm definitely not giving her no bail out of jail for that. But I think you hit the point exactly on the head. Maybe she is showing some traits that she hates maybe about her mom. Alluding, listen, I'm just going off of the things that I see on the show. And like the little stuff that she give us, the little crumbs that she give us. But to your point, if you're doing all these things at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, not even coming home some nights, what do I supposed to think? Like literally, what do I supposed to think? Because you would think, to your point, emotional intelligence, that, oh, if you're coming on Married at First Sight and you letting strangers pick your husband, for one, I would think that you have some emotional intelligence to even want to be married at that. But, oh, well, that's our fault for thinking that. And then on top of that, to let strangers pick your husband, to be committed to an unknown process, I guess that's our fault for thinking that too. You get what I'm saying? So, like, yeah, I don't blame you, Blair, for why you would think she would have that. But I think she purposely is basically gaslighting Allan of like, oh, you called me a hooker or you called me a party girl and I'm not that. But yet, the first night you wasn't there. We went to the bar together. I lost you. All these things, you know? Anything else?
That's it.
Subscribe, like, share, comment. Let us know what you think about Allan and let us know what you think about Madison. And then we see you tomorrow.
Bye.